All right, guys, we got another one for you this afternoon. Kind of making a few videos here. I know I'm wearing the same stuff after the last couple of videos, but this is the only day I've had before I go out of town for Christmas vacation, and so I'm just trying to knock out a few videos. But another cool one for you today, talking about where fish go in the wintertime. You know, they all have their places they go. They all have the things that they do, and they change and adapt with the weather when it gets cold. And that's something to always keep in mind. Remember, fish always change, no matter what the weather is. Sunny, cloudy, cold, hot, stormy, rainy, snowing, it doesn't matter. Fish always change. But in the wintertime, they kind of have their places they go. And once you figure that out, you can take that to pretty much any lake and catch bass in the wintertime. So, for example, you know, live scope nowadays is a huge deal. Just talking about saying you have live scope in the wintertime, fish get out and chase bait. That is the main thing they do. Fish eat bait year round. In the wintertime specifically, because they have to feed up. They feed up because it's getting cold. They know that, hey, we got to eat before it gets too cold and the bait dies off, and that sort of thing. But if you have live scope in the wintertime, just pretty much get out there in those ditches, get out there on those flats where those fish are going to just roam around, where you would picture fish roaming around. You pull into the back of a creek in a pocket. Say in the middle of the pocket it's 20 foot, and on the bank it's 2 foot. Kind of back off the bank, look out in the middle, see if you can find that bait. A lot of times fish will come up schooling in the middle of these pockets, in the middle of the lake. That's this time, not middle of the lake, but middle of the creek, middle of the pockets this time of year. And kind of pay attention to that thing, because those fish aren't out there just chasing just to be doing it. Those fish are out there because that's where they're living at that time of year. That's where they're chasing the bait. That's where the bait's at. So in the wintertime, those fish will go middle of the pockets, like I said, the middle of the creeks, wherever that bait's at is where the fish is going to go. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you have live scope, you always want to just look around until you find them. But if you don't have live scope, what I would recommend in the wintertime is find places that hold heat. Now, I know that sounds really obvious, but it matters a lot. Rocks has got to be the most important and the most fish-catching structure there is in the wintertime, because those rocks hold heat. They hold more heat than any structure on the lake. That's why people catch them on rock piles offshore in the middle of the wintertime. But for me personally, I fish a lot of rock just on the bank. You know what I mean? It can be anywhere from 10 inches to 10 feet. But wherever that rock is on the bank, those fish will get up there. They sit right up on that rock where it's warm at, heat up. That bait also is all over those rocks. The crawfish are in them rocks. That's why red also works good this time of year. But those rocks are really good in the wintertime. You can catch them there every time, all times of year, but the wintertime, a lot of fish congregate to those rocks. And another structure that fish really go to in the wintertime is docks. Now, me personally, I really don't want to give this away, but I'm going to. Dock fishing, there's many ways to dock fish. There's many ways that fish look at docks, I feel like. So for me personally, in the wintertime, I'm going to look for docks with metal poles coming off of them. And the reason being is because those metal poles are going to have a degree more heat, maybe 2 degrees more heat coming off of them than a wooden pole on a dock. God, you guys keep that in mind, because I'm telling you, that is one of my favorite techniques and a way to catch bass off of docks in the wintertime. Not many people do that. You know, you got to look within, like I said in the video prior to this, the pattern within the pattern. And that is one of those techniques. You know, in the wintertime, yes, fish will go to those docks, and then they'll be on wooden docks almost just as good as those metal docks. But I'm telling you guys, you find those metal poles coming off of those docks, it just holds a little more heat, and then it can catch some of those biggest pre-spawned fish in those lakes. And another way, you know, if you can find brush around those docks as well, under those metal posts, those fish like to be in brush this time of year. It holds a little more heat as well. A lot of bait goes to the brush piles. You can catch them live scoping. You can just catch them on docks just fishing until you find brush piles. That's the way a lot of people do it. I still do that on some of my boats that I have. I'm very fortunate enough to have some good electronics on my bass boat, so it saves a little bit of time. But if you don't, that's all good. It's just as good. You just have to take a little more time to find those things. But yeah, man, that's one thing to keep in mind, or two things to keep in mind in the wintertime, is what those fish go to. Like I said, on the banks, it's going to be rock, it's going to be docks. You can catch them on wood, just things that hold a little more heat. You know what I mean? In the summertime, they're going to be on shade. They're not going to be on shade in the wintertime. And they might be if they're just, it might be a random fish in the shade. But for me personally, I really, really like to look to stuff that holds heat. Like I said, brush piles, docks, rocks, clay, even clay points and stuff like that will hold heat. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like I said, crankbait, chatterbait, those sort of things is pretty much all you need for wintertime fishing. Alabama rig catches a lot of bass as well. Keep that in mind. Like I said, when it comes to wintertime fishing, what do fish go to? They go to what holds heat. Like I said, rocks, docks, brush piles, that sort of thing. But if they're not on the bank, sometimes fish just don't go to the bank. So I feel like personally there is a population of fish that don't go to the bank, and there's a population of fish that stay on the bank. And I feel like those fish that stay on the bank go to those sort of things I'm talking about fish relate to in the wintertime on the bank. And I feel like those fish that don't go to the bank are on that bait, chasing that bait year-round, even largemouth, not just spotted bass, not just smallmouth, even largemouth will get out there in the middle of those creeks and chase that bait just like spots and smallmouth will. So, yeah, keep that in mind. There's two, like I said, I think there's two different kind of ways that bass act in the wintertime. So keep those two things in mind. It'll definitely help you catch a few more bass. All right, so that's pretty much going to wrap this one up, guys. I appreciate you guys watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what else you guys want to see. Might do a little shoal bass video for you guys coming up soon. We'll have to see how that goes. But if you want to book a trip with me, I got a flintriverfishing.com website. You can check that out. And I have my Instagram page, it's Flint Davis Fishing. You can go on there and see some giant shoal bass that I've been catching. And if you want to get some of that action yourself, feel more than welcome. Catch them on fly rod, spinning rod, whatever you really want to catch them on. They're biting. So if you guys are interested in that, give me a call, give me a text, let me know. But until the next one, appreciate you guys watching.